Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Breaking news. Men ain't shit, or some men ain't shit. I think it just depends on whether you can be used or not. Don't know. But today we're going to be checking out Hat on Foot's perspective as she decides to tackle the male loser epidemic. For those that have been appreciating the content, please consider subscribing as it does help a lot. All right, take it away, Shoe.
Hello again, friends. Sorry I've been gone for quite a bit. Hopefully nothing too crazy happened. I feel like every time I take a break, like a war breaks out or something, but thankfully that did not happen. But at least we found out the real Epstein files were the friends we made along the way. Welcome back to the Shoe0nhead channel. If it is your first time here, don't get me
started on that one. That's a rough topic, man. The Epstein list, that's a rough topic.
Run. I am Shoe0nhead, and on this channel I like to cover cultural issues mostly surrounding men's issues. It's what I've been doing for over a decade, and frankly, I'm exhausted. Many of you have been along for the ride, and you have seen me go from a chipper, lively 24-year-old making fun of BuzzFeed and Tumblr feminists to a bitter, calloused 34-year-old talking about very real and growing men's issues.
She's 34?
One of the main men's issues I have been covering in great detail lately has been the male loneliness epidemic. Yeah, but turns out I was wrong. We don't have a male loneliness epidemic. We have a male loser epidemic. It's not a male loneliness epidemic. No, it's a male mediocrity epidemic. It's a male loser epidemic.
The male loser epidemic has gotten so bad that it's honestly so pathetic at this point.
Now, I don't always talk about men's issues. No, sometimes I talk about politics, and sometimes I mix the two together. With all these issues men are facing, they seem to be moving to the right and the Republicans more, since the left and Democrats have essentially just become the young men eat and die movement. Months ago, I covered how the Democratic Party was losing young men, and I predicted Kamala Harris would lose in part because of young men overwhelmingly voting for Trump, and I was correct. Well, now the Democrats have unveiled their final solution to the right-wing male loser epidemic. Democrats spending millions to learn how to speak to American men and win back the working class. Democrats have blown millions of dollars on efforts to appeal to American men who turned to President Donald Trump in droves on Election Day in hopes of winning back the working class. Democrats have spent $20 million on their efforts, with donors and strategists holing up in luxury hotel rooms, brainstorming how to convince working class men to return to the party. Ah yes, nothing more relatable to working class men than luxury hotel rooms. Great job, guys. The plan? Codename SAM, or Speaking with American Men, a strategic plan, promises to use the funds to study the syntax, language, and content that gains attention and virality in these spaces. The effort also recommends Democrats buy advertisement in video games, among other things. The Democratic Party is treating young men like exotic animals they're studying. Now, as you can see here is the young man in his natural habitat, in a dark, messy cave surrounded by Taco Bell wrappers and empty Mountain Dew bottles.
Is this where Asmongold tastes water? Yeah, it is. Oh,
Here
man.
is another young man, as you can see, also dwelling in a dark cave. This one has dyed his hair blue to scare off potential predators. Unfortunately, it also scares off potential mates, but moving on, here is another young man. We think, we're not quite sure about this one. We're still studying it. Listen, Democrats, instead of spending $20 million to do that stupid maybe you should, I don't know, actually listen to men. I listen to men for free all the time. All I have to do is read my comment section. Let's see here. Shoe0nhead is a perfect example of why we need to repeal the 19th. Greetings from Albania. I hate women so much it's unreal. Ooh, Shoe, mommy, milkies, mommy. One time I got my penis stuck in a soda bottle. Okay, on second thought, maybe my comment section is not the best source.
Since Trump scored big with young male voters last election, Democrats are spending $20 million to learn how to speak their language. I think it's a waste of money. Maybe these guys should spend their money on teaching men to not be such sexists. Maybe that's it.
But the stats don't bear that out now.
Yeah.
Look at what young women have to choose from. The pickings are slim. Yes, we might have a feminism problem in America, but it's the feminization of men. There are a lot of young women out there that want to get married. They want to have kids. They want to have stable families. But there are a lot of young men out there who want to live in mama's basement and order DoorDash.
Oh,
And so you think finger shaming is just going to work with the populace of men that you're trying to appeal to? I mean, I think the covert feminist stuff has been a cancer in itself, because it's like the cat's out of the bag. You're basically saying that men have to be a certain way while you can do whatever you want. And it's like, okay, well, that's not really going to appeal to someone who is in a society where freedom is more appealing. Now, if you're telling that a man has to be lock in step with a certain kind of perspective, but the other side doesn't, it's like, okay, well, why are we sitting on this unequal footing all the damn time? And I mean, we already kind of covered the $20 million thing with the fantastic plan to reach young men. As Shoe says, it's basically like talking to an exotic animal and you're just trying to appeal to its nature and understand it like it's a third world creature at this point, because you're just so disconnected from being a human being that it's just not something that you could actually reach anymore. And you don't realize I think a lot of these top heads are just stuck in the echo chambers of themselves. And then they're fed information from other subservient echo chambers. So it'll never be grassroots. They don't know how diabolical the shit below them is. They don't. They're too high on their socioeconomic status to actually hear the mind vomit against men nowadays. And then now you even have the right with the covert feminism, man. You're just getting attacked from both sides now. You have one side saying you ain't shit. Now you have the other side saying, well, you need to be this, but you still ain't shit. It's like, man, you can't win.
Oh no.
Yeah.
The very night I was sitting on my couch writing the script to my video about how the Democrats are spending $20 million to relate to young men, this came on my TV on Fox News. A Tomi, Larhen, and Laura Ingraham segment about stay-at-home sons, men who still live at home. Literally minutes after this aired, it went absolutely viral on Twitter for not good reasons. So we are going to unpack this piece by piece. Because even though everyone was mocking it and making fun of it, as far as I saw, nobody was really dissecting it and breaking down exactly why she was so egregiously wrong. So come join me in debunking the male loser epidemic. Because who else better equipped to talk about men's issues than two stupid blonde bimbos? Hold on one second.
There you go.
Three stupid blonde bimbos.
Hell yeah.
Sorry. I felt left out. All right, let's go. Wait. I need my gamer fuel. See? I do drink it. That one's for you, Tectone.
It's a major problem. And, you know, Speaker Johnson has been talking about those maybe deadbeat folks.
For anyone that doesn't know who Tectone is, it's just basically a streamer who kind of watches things, I guess, similarly to Asmongold is a good way to put it, but that's interesting. To give us a little bit of foresight, I'm going to say, what do y'all think? Economy, technology, and single mother households? What y'all think? Economy, it's almost damn near impossible to make a sustainable wage off entry-level jobs. And then technology, everything is so extensively convenient to the point where why do you need to leave home? You don't really need to. Everything can be achieved through digital means nowadays. So what's the point? It's better safe than sorry, right? Or at least that's the perspective. I don't agree with it to a large extent, but that doesn't change that that's the reality. Single mother households, maybe because, and not just single mother households, I would say passive parental households where they allow their child to be that also. Let me know what you guys think, and we'll keep it going.
Folks that are on Medicaid, and maybe some of those folks are the stay-at-home sons. We don't know. But I'll tell you this, leave it to Gen Z to rebrand laziness and social awkwardness as something cutesy, like a stay-at-home son. But Laura, I gotta tell you, this is also a big problem when it comes to, I think, declining birth rates, people not getting married and having children. You know, that's a big problem. They blame it on women. Well, look at what young women have to choose from. The pickings are slim. Yes, we might have a feminism problem in America, but it's the feminization feminization of men. There are a lot of young women out there that want to get married. They want to have kids. They want to have stable families. But there are a lot of young men out there who want to live in mama's basement and order DoorDash. And that's why we have declining birth rates and a lot of other problems in society. It's time to go out, get a job, breathe the fresh air, meet people in real life. Let's just get back to basics.
So first,
before she gets into it, then I guess part of the goal of feminism was to also feminize men. So you can't have your cake and eat it too. You're going to complain about the outcomes of feminism while glancing over feminism and just saying that can't believe we have all these feminized men. That's an ulterior motive of feminism, was to feminize men and make them more malleable, make them less, lose their authority, right? Or lose the presence of their authority, and then also tame the male presence. It's something that I covered in my last video for anyone that's seen it. It doesn't do it justice when we have stripped the perspective and image of a father, and then now we're just sitting here complaining about it. And then what makes it even more out of touch is that you have two women trying to discuss the issues of young men. That you're even more out of the loop because your upbringing wasn't that of a young man. So what? I'm not trying to say like, okay, well, if you're not a duck, you can't talk to ducks. That's not what I'm saying. It's just the concept that men and women come up severely differently. And I would argue that men come up a little harsher, a little harder. They get held more accountable. People are a little more, the world in general is a little more critical on men because like I've said before, men move with the societal norm that they can endure. So therefore you can kick them while they're down. But whereas if you're a woman, it's not as much, or at least it doesn't lean in that way as much. This finger waving shit is just, I wonder if when that's ever worked.
First of all, this stay-at-home son thing is not a real thing. It was a random throwaway, self-deprecating joke some contestant on Jeopardy said. One f***ing guy. Because I guess there's nothing else important going on that they could cover on the news. They literally made this into a fake phenomena so they can on young men. Meanwhile, Democrats are spending millions of dollars trying to win back young men. Oh no, the young men are leaving us in droves. How do we get them back? Don't worry, I got this. Hey, you fat, lazy, Cheeto dust-covered slobs, f*** you. Nice. Thanks. I love you. I love you too. Is the amount of young men living home with their parents increasing? Yes. Is it because they're lazy bums and just want to order DoorDash all day? No. And also, they're not paying for DoorDash, Tommy. They're financing it. Come on. Get with the times.
Oh, shit. There are a lot of young men out there who want to live in mama's basement and order DoorDash. And that's why we have declining birth rates. It's time to go out, get a job, breathe the fresh air.
Have either of you tried applying for a job as a young man recently? Or tried buying a house on the salary of one of these young men? Have you experienced the dating market, been on the dating sites as a young man? No? Interesting, okay. Just wondering. Listen, I know the average age of a Fox News viewer is like 70 nowadays and you need to pander to them, but Tommy, you are like 2 years younger than me. You know this shit isn't true. Why are you talking like this? Why are you talking like a fucking boomer? Yeah. I'm sorry, I have no other word for this, but I hate this like generational pick-me shit. I was born in the wrong generation. I'm not like those other young people. And you know what? She's not like those other young people. Not all young people can afford a nice nose job and lip filler and get a cushy job on Fox News based entirely on merit, I'm sure. The main problem with this brain-dead boomer-ass take is not only is it cringe, but it's completely divorced from reality. This slop is specifically designed for people who paid like $5 for a f***ing house. And listen, not all boomers, okay? My parents are boomers, they are lovely people. A lot of you guys are boomers, but when the baby boomer generation sends its people, it is not sending their best. They are not sending you. They're sending people who have lots of problems. They're bringing the housing crisis. They're bringing wage stagnation. They're falling for AI-generated photos on Facebook. But some, I assume, are good people. But my god, I truly believe they do not understand how good they had it. They could support a family on a single income. A single income from a job that didn't require a college degree. Their leaders didn't prostitute away their economic future for some cheap plastic shit from China. They inherited the greatest economy known to man, and they pretend it's a paradise that they earned. I just don't understand, like...
Well, I would argue when capitalism was done well, now capitalism is being, not in the sense that it was always being done well, but what we saw was capitalism done well. Now what we're seeing is capitalism being exploited and manipulated and executed poorly. The one thing that I kind of hit the books on was why people are against capitalism. And it comes to find out that they're not necessarily against capitalism. They're against the poor execution of it. And if you ever look at the difference between the poor execution and the proper execution of capitalism, it's night and day difference. And all the criticisms are typically oriented toward the poor execution of capitalism. But that just means that we have to entrust the system to execute it at all. What's the chance that it's not going to be done in the best interest of the people? That's the issue. Right. And this is where we have problems.
Why don't boomers and spiritual boomers like Tomi Larhen see people struggling and go, wow, I wish I could fix this. They should have it better than I had it. And you wonder why so many millennials and zoomers don't want kids. I want to make the world a better place for my children. I want to make the world a better place for my children. Ugh. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps, you spoiled brat. Children. Not happening.
If that's not proof that propaganda has worked from the 1950s to now to destroy the nuclear family, it worked. That shit worked, didn't it? It worked. Anyone that thinks that propaganda is not a thing now, that's how you know how good it is, I would argue.
Well, look at what young women have to choose from. The pickings are slim. Yes, we might have a feminism problem in America, but it's the feminization of men.
Young men are becoming lazy because they're becoming feminized. So they're becoming lazy because they act more like women? What did she mean by this, chat? I know there's like a decrease in testosterone or something happening, but men are moving right-wing all over the world. Does that correlate with the feminization? Or, I mean, there are suspiciously a lot of far-right femboys, so... What? Maybe. But here's the thing, Tammy. There is absolutely no evidence that young women want to start families more than young men. None. In fact, all the data says the exact opposite. According to Pew Research, 64% of women younger than 50 say they just don't want to have children. No reason, they just don't want them. Versus 50% of men who say the same. Another study by Archbridge Institute shows the same. 63% of women without children said they have no desire to have a child, while only 50% of men said the same. For men, the most commonly cited factor was personal finance, but among women, the strongest reason not to have a child was their desire to maintain their personal independence. Basically, they don't want to give up their brunch and mimosas. They've been ass-blasted with propaganda their whole lives, telling them their lives will be ruined, their bodies will be ruined, they'll never have fun again, they'll be miserable forever if they have children. And as someone who has had a children, best decision I've ever made. 10/10, highly recommend, would do it again. But yes, this idea that men are the...
I mean, that's a common phenomenon for most women. It's like every woman's against it until they do it. And they actually... But here's the hard part. When women achieve motherhood with a decent to admirable man, then it's different. But there's a lot of women out there that, well, guess what they do? They have sex with the guy that they shouldn't be having sex with regardless, because they're making poor mating choices that translates to who they have children with. You mean to tell me that guy's going to stick around? He was fun. Fun is not good. Someone who makes you feel good does not mean they are good. And I think that that's the common play, because women who bank off their emotions a bit too much are easy to manipulate. And I think that that's kind of what you see with a lot of women getting caught into the man that's a player kind of cycle, right? I guess the best way to put it is that we're making immature choices on the basis of a mature goal to have children, but my interests have not grown at all. So I'm trying to make good decisions with bad people. So I think that can get in the way of a good outcome should you have children.
Primarily responsible for the low birth rates is laughable. We're laughing over here. But honestly, it's not really women or men's fault. There are a lot of factors that play into this. But Tomi, I really gotta ask, is it men or is it you?
This is going to be the summer of canceling boys. All of my friends are attractive. All of my friends are successful. All of my friends have something going on. Almost every single one of them have an issue with men. But if all of these women, including myself, are having issues, then I have to think it might not be us. It might be you. It is not just the guys in Los Angeles, Nashville, Dallas, and they're not any better in the Midwest. Quite frankly, I think they're trash all over this country.
My friends are successful. Men don't give a shit about that. They'd marry a Walmart cashier if she was nice to them.
I think
that's a great point. I think what you're seeing right here is just women indicating their own value. Then they compare that with what they feel that they're entitled to. And then they start being significantly or extremely selective on the basis of that. So if you're not the 1% man that they're looking for, then you're not shit. So that's the standard. Live up to my standard or you don't exist at all. And if you don't live up to my standard, then I'm going to see you as less in general. What do you do against that? What do you do when feminism has pushed the mentality of women to such an entitled state that if you're not the Instagram perspective, what the fuck are you going to do? What the hell are you going to do in the face of that? And I guess what sucks about that too is that just because you're a successful female, which means nothing in reference to the mate selection of men, that's not what they care about. They care more about how you are, not what you do or who you are. And none of those things translate to a good representation of how you are. And I think that that's often the issue that we're seeing a little bit. It's crazy that women will continue to live on know what I think about dating matters and what I think only matters. And I feel, damn, it's crazy.
men between the ages of 20 and 30 are not ready, in most cases, for marriage, are usually not ready to be husbands and fathers.
That's a cultural issue. So, look,
no, I would actually, back to your point, yeah. I think it's a biological thing.
So let me get this straight. Men are all trash and won't commit and won't leave mommy's basement, and they're destroying the birth rates. But also young men are biologically incapable of commitment and being parents. What? But wait, there's more. She also believes women don't have to bring anything to the table.
And as a woman, I want a strong man who is a protector and a provider that will go to war if need be, that will protect me, protect my family, make money. But I don't think a man needs to get something out of it to be a manly man, a protector and a provider.
That's great.
If you think you need to get something out of it, I quite frankly don't consider you a real man.
Never before in history have women demanded so much
and that's the problem.
And offered so little.
Yeah,
so before we get deeper
problem.
into this retarded, manufactured, stay-at-home son narrative...
Okay, so then before she gets into that, I guess, you know what? It's the entitlement pitch all over again. You need to be X. I can be whatever I want. If you're not that, though, I hold my judgment over you. Why? Because this is how I feel. My feelings are factual. Your existence doesn't matter. Your value in the way that I interpret it is all that matters. It's just, I guess it's just a double standard man thing. It's a double standard thing and it's powerful as hell. I can dictate my value, but you can't dictate your own. I can dictate yours. Oh, Tomi Larhen. Oh, Tomi Larhen.
Let's check the Facebook comments of this Fox News video because I am really interested to see what like the typical Fox News viewer thinks about this. If the women are anything like these two, I can hardly blame the men for staying home and not wanting to date them. Blame, blame, blame. Yeah. These two women have a combined age of 93 and they have 0 children between both of them.
Oh, really?
You both have repugnant personality types, so listening to this was like male birth control to me. My goodness! Boomers are ruthless! Bunch of sissies. I served 6 years, 2 years in Southeast Asia.
Spent a lot of time in those Call of Duty lobbies, man.
Asia after Vietnam was over. When I was 18, rent was $450 and I could afford to get my own place. She's so spot on. Nothing screams I'm a loser run from me than a guy living at home in his parents' house with his 12-year-old boy's bedroom decor at age of 30. Thank God we raised our sons to be men, who grew up, lived on their own, found their soulmate, got married, bought a beautiful home, and started a family. I was out the door at 18, worked on the assembly line at Dodge and in the Air Force at 19, never went back home. I can't relate to this. Yes, we know you people can't relate. We know. But the world has changed. Why can't you people get this through your heads? I will never let my sons stay home. I'm trying to push them out of the nest. Okay, I really gotta ask, is this an Anglo thing? Immediately kicking your kid out when they turn 18 years old? My Mediterranean mind cannot comprehend this. And honestly, why the f would a man leave home, leave his mother's cooking, for a woman who probably can't cook? Not me, though. Personally, I can cook amazing homemade meals. I'll have you know I am a great trad wife.
Chef.
Bone apple teeth.
Now, unfortunately, Tomi Larhen...
I wanted to see her walk up to her husband with that plate and just like bite him.
was wasn't the only one pushing this stupid lazy young men go get a job bullshit. Mike Johnson did it referencing 29-year-old men playing video games all day. Steve Scalise did it with 35-year-old men playing video games all day. And just the other night, I saw this on my TV. Again.
A Wall Street Journal headline got our attention. The new dream job for young men, stay-at-home son. It's a phrase that's taken off since 27-year-old Brendan Leo won $59,000 on Jeopardy. And he has a master's degree in political science, but he's unemployed. Grow up, get a job, get a wife, build a family.
Just get a wife, bro. Just get a job, bro.
Oh, get a job? Yeah. Just get a job? Why don't I strap on my job helmet and squeeze down into a job cannon and fire off into jobland, where jobs grow on jobbies?
The term welfare queen must have fell out of fashion with Republicans, because it seems even they know the approved safe demographic to go after now. Because it's very obvious what demographic they are talking about when they say young men in their basements playing video games. This just get a job lazy attitude is not surprising, but it's especially funny coming from Fox News of all places. Fox News that spends so much time yapping about immigrants taking American jobs. Fox News will talk for years about how Americans are being screwed out of the workforce. But when this issue manifests itself in Gen Z, suddenly it's a moral failure. The fact is, a lot of American jobs held by men are being lost to automation, offshoring, and yes, cheap foreign labor. Companies and billionaires would rather have cheap labor that they can essentially abuse, not pay fair wages to, just good little worker drones who won't unionize, rather than hire American workers for a living wage. The cheaper the labor they hire, the more money they make. I remember when Bernie Sanders called open borders a Koch brothers conspiracy.
Open borders?
Open borders.
That's a Koch brothers proposal, which says essentially there is no United States.
But it
would
make a lot of the global poor richer, wouldn't it?
And it'd make everybody in America poor. Then you're doing away with the concept of a nation state.
Where'd that guy go? A lot of these jobs being taken are jobs traditionally held by men, like construction and factory jobs, manual labor work. But it's not just manual labor jobs, it's also the tech industry and business industry, which are career.
You know, one of the interesting things about the whole kick your children out at 18, now that was a concept because you knew that this is the time where you had responsibility of them, now they have responsibility of themselves, and now you're instilling the idea of the importance of responsibility so that way they can carry on for themselves, learn it the hard way, be out in society, be working through the economic ladder, and then establish themselves. Now, how hard is that with entry-level jobs off the rip? Damn near impossible. So nowadays, it's a little more accepted to have your kids maybe attend school for the time being and then work their way out of that from there, or maybe join the military at 18 because that's one way to do it. You know, find an ability to serve. Go from there, get your college paid for, and then do something after the fact now that you can get something past an entry-level job. At the end of the day, though, the job market itself is abysmally awful. Like it is terrible right now. You're talking people that are putting in resumes nonstop, day after day, and getting no response. That's a different outcome, right? And I think that it's because a lot of it is held digitally. And I think that's kind of where the issue is. Whereas people aren't pounding the pavement like they used to, where they'd go from small business to small business to small business, or corporate business to corporate business to corporate business, really just hand walking the resume as much anymore, when that used to be a common thing. And it was competitive in that sense. So there's a little bit of a shift there, mainly because the economy is making it that way. Whereas the cost of living has far surpassed the wages, as we've seen in all kinds of graphs, where it's just not fair. It's just not fair with the amount that has grown versus the wages themselves.
It's also mainly held by men. There are many, many examples of this, such as Microsoft recently cutting thousands of American workers while requesting 14,000 more H-1B workers this year. Some of those job positions include data scientists, which are 70% men, software developers, which are 80% men, and electronic engineers, which are 90% men, and many more like that. Another example of this was Tesla, where roughly 15,000 American employees were fired in April 2024, and many were replaced with H-1B visa holders. On Twitter, Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy tried to chalk this up to these immigrants just simply being the best and the brightest. Yeah, okay. You're paying them less for longer hours and more work, and they're willing to deal with it in order to stay in the country. It's coercive, exploitative, and, dare I say, not very America first. When conservatives confronted Elon Musk for this last year, he told somebody, and I quote, "Take a big step back and yourself in the face. I will go to war on this issue, the likes of which you cannot possibly comprehend. So when it comes to replacing American workers in manual labor with cheap foreign labor, it's deport, deport, deport. But when it comes to replacing his American workers with cheap foreign labor, it's
little sketchy.
Yourself in the face. Interesting. There's also affirmative action and DEI, which are other things Fox News always pisses and shits about. But suddenly, when the conversation is about Gen Z men, the demographic of people who are victims of these things, suddenly these things just like don't exist anymore. Then it's, oh, young men are all just lazy. They just want to be in their parents' basement ordering DoorDash and playing video games. But it's not just the brown people taking your jobs. I am not beating the allegations with this one. The brown people are not taking your jobs, okay? It's not their fault. They're just cheaper. Aim upwards. But it's not just the brown people taking your jobs. It's the women, too. Because you see, despite the world progressing and the role of women changing, the role of men has not changed. Every woman is a feminist until the dinner bill comes. But what's crazy is, women might be the ones paying that dinner bill soon. A study from the UK found women aged 22 to 29 earned about $1,000 more annually than men, completely reversing the traditional gender pay gap for this age group. In the US, a 2022 Pew Research Center analysis showed that women under 30 out-earned men in many metropolitan areas, with median earnings at or above 100% of men's in cities like New York and Washington, D.C. That may not sound like a lot of money now, but it's a growing trend that has never been seen before. It's so bad that it's really starting to affect the dating world. American women have never been this resigned to staying single. They are responding to major demographic shifts, including huge and growing gender gaps in economic and educational attainment, political affiliation, and beliefs about what family should look like. More women than men are attending college, buying houses, and focusing on their friendships and careers over dating and marriage. The challenges of finding a romantic partner have been made more complicated by a growing divide in education and career prospects between men and women. In 2024, 40% of American women ages 25 to 34 had a bachelor's degree, according to Pew, compared to 37% of men. A bachelor's degree increases net lifetime earnings by an estimated $1 million. Women are doing comparatively well when it comes to education in their early years in the labor force, and men are doing comparatively badly. Men's economic struggles seem to be having the biggest effect on women without a college degree, whose marriage rates by 45 have plummeted to 52% for those born between 1930 and 1980, according to research by Cornell University. Young men without a degree are struggling so much as a group that there simply aren't enough with steady jobs and earnings for non-college women to date. Men are poor, women most affected. Modern women are no longer tied to their gender role. Birth control has freed them from the prison that is their biology, and they are making their own money, sometimes more than men. They can have it all, they can do anything, they can be anything. While at the same time, men are still expected to be the provider. And more importantly, many men still want to be the provider, but they can't. And women, though strong and independent, still want men to be the provider.
And as a woman, I want a strong man who is a protector and a provider that will go to war if need be, that will protect me, protect my family, make money.
Basically, men are like, we're worried we're not making enough money. And women are like, we're worried men are not making enough money.
That's true.
Hello class, I am Miss Shoe0nhead. I am substituting for your teacher today. She was arrested for molesting a 12-year-old boy. So today we are
it's crazy how
learning
common
about
that is.
The graph. This is the growth in productivity versus hourly compensation graph. And you can trace almost everything bad happening in society back to this graph. As you can see, productivity increased while compensation barely grew over the same time period. Notice they tracked very closely up until around 1972. Now, what happened around 1972, class? Well, the top marginal tax rate was reduced from 70% in 1964 to 50% by 1981. The federal minimum wage began to stagnate. Income going to the 1% rose from 9% in the 60s to 16% in 2023. CEOs also went from making 20 times more than the average worker to making 350 times more than the average worker. Anything else? Anything else happen around 1972? Yes, Jimmy, that is correct. Women joined the workforce around this time, but We don't have to get into that today. The fact is, hard work no longer guarantees success, and the will to work is tied to the fruits of your labor. And young men are fed up today because 90% of that fruit is rotten. Now, is there some truth to modern young people being lazy? Sure, I guess. Every generation had lazy people. And we do basically live in late-stage mouse utopia, after all. Young people today are faced with two options: revolution or escapism. And a lot of them are choosing escapism. Many have basically given up, but it's not like they didn't try. They tried, and they found out the juice just isn't worth the squeeze, whether it's college, dating, or the job market. And in a way, many young men are kind of choosing revolution. The never-before-seen large shift rightward in young men is a small revolution in a way. They're saying, this isn't working for me, this sucks, I hate this, I want something different. Okay. This is also manifesting on the Democrat side in general.
So I was a little confused as to what she meant by resolution, but okay, now we're going to use that as context. Now, the hard thing that we have to digest, to stay the same, or the idea of staying the same or remaining in a pocket that we are comfortable, is inherent to human nature. To be safe, to be comfortable is like a predisposition of our nature. It's not a defect. It's not a flaw. It is natural. Now, what does that instill? Well, it's naturally going to instill, obviously, the concept of escapism, because working against that, or at least getting to a position where you think it's important to work against it, is obviously going to lead you in an alternative route. But we are born inherently to pursue escapism. It's a fact of biology, because in previous existences, the concept of survival required a lot of proactivity. We're born into privilege without any necessity for that survival tactic or that survival feature. We already have everything we need typically provided to us. So it's gone. What do we do in the face of it? If we don't need to do anything, we won't. Privilege. Simple. So if we don't need to do anything for the time being and we're safe and okay with where we are, then we won't move and we won't do anything. And we will remain in this position until life really says that we can't and we're about to get thrown to the wolves, in which case, resolution, right? Or revolution, as I was. I've been jacking that word up the whole time. I apologize. But that is literally what all young men are kind of facing right now, is I have this inherent feeling now of safety and comfort. I have everything I need. Why do I need to pursue more than this? That's a tough question. And I would argue that the answer is because this isn't forever. The foundation of what you believe you have now is not forever. And it's hard to gauge that, because then that means that you have to dabble into the uncertainty of what the future might hold for you. And if you don't want to look that far, well, then naturally you're going to be at a bit of a disadvantage when it comes down to reaching that point when the person that's been taking care of you this whole time disappears, goes away, and then you just freak the out completely. So the one thing that I have a hard time asking or formulating a question to is, how do you drive a narrative that makes men look at those two decisions and choose the uphill? That's tough. One, I would argue it involves having a culture around you of people pursuing something. Because if you're the slow runner and you get mixed in with some fast runners, you're going to naturally increase your speed to be in likeness of your environment. I would say that's one. So culture and environment, right? Surround yourself with people that want you to be more and expect the best from you, I would say. So that's one thing. And another thing I think from a personal perspective is to know what you don't want to be. It's hard to know exactly where you want to go initially, because if you're 22 years old, 21 years old, 20 years old, and you're looking off into the future as to what could you see yourself doing for the next 20, 30 years, man, that's a tall order. That's a tall order. And that's why you have a lot of people that say just start a plan regardless of what that plan is for the time being, because at least you accrue incremental wisdom as you make mistakes along that plan's route. But you really don't know what the hell you're going to do. The thing that is a little more clear is knowing what you don't want to be. And I think that bringing that as a narrative to the conversation can often do a lot of good. And I would say that that's probably the second thing I would orient towards, is having a personal narrative of, well, do you want to be useless? Do you want to have nothing? Do you want to be a loser? Do you want to be seen as less by the women that you would like to pursue should they be good people? Not the Tomi Not the Tomi Lahrens out there in the world, obviously, but women who actually believe in traditional relationships, not the false covert feminisms that exists out there, right? We already know those are wolves in sheep's clothing, man. Don't let it fool you for a second where they talk the big game of what men should be. Shut the hell up. I think the last thing that men need is women telling them what they need to be, considering that you live a life that is completely disconnected from a man's perspective or a man's struggles. So, and that can never be delivered on the other side, because women often live on the basis of privilege, especially in today's society, whether they want to admit that or not, is what it is. And I would say that those are the things that I would put forward in reference to how to tackle this question in particular, revolution or escapism. And that doesn't mean that it's easy. It does mean that it's simple, but simple doesn't mean easy. And I think that when we live in a technological age where everything's convenient, how are you going to take up just this immense mountain of suffering when from the day you're born to 18 to 19 to 20, you've had everything granted to you on the basis of convenience? That's a hard switch, man. That's a hard switch. And I feel that. I didn't come up in that, but I feel that. And because that's what kids are growing up in today, where everything's just immediate. Everything is just simple. It's simply immediate at that. And everything's so convenient. You want this now? Here you go. You want this now? Here you go. And it's like, okay, well, careers don't work that way. Lifestyles, professional lifestyles and professional pursuits don't work that way. You can't just hit a button and be like, college degree, boom, skadoosh. Let me $1 million job offer. Hit that button. Nah, man, everything requires this long, drawn out struggle of hardship, pursuing uphill battles and tackling new obstacles as you developed greater and greater versions of yourself to be able to handle more. Is that attractive? Nah, that path is not attractive. The outcome's sexy as hell. But boy, is that road some of the ugliest shit you'll ever see. That's true.
Young men that are still voting left are voting further left. You saw this recently in New York City, where Zohran Mamdani, a self-proclaimed Democratic socialist, won the Democratic primary. Young men are tired of the establishment, left and right. They're tired of the system, and they want to burn it down and start again. They want something that works for them, because this is not working for them.
If you wake up one morning and you find yourself in a society where 23-year-olds with 4-year college degrees and like initiative who aren't smoking weed every day, if they can't make enough to buy a car, much less a home, much less get married, much less have children, then why should you be surprised when half of them say they prefer socialism?
Fox News should hire that guy. There is an entire generation of fighting-aged men who are enraged and feel like they have nothing to live for. You should probably start caring. When they saw this airing on Fox News, they saw an angry woman nagging in their faces about how everything wrong in the world is their fault, an all too familiar thing they have been hearing for far too long. But unfortunately for Democrats, nobody under the age of 60 watches Fox News, so this is not really going to have an effect on young men whatsoever. So keep that $20 million. You might still need it, unless we get dragged into another war in the Middle East. If we do get dragged into another war in the Middle East, young men might come running back to the Democratic Party. Maybe not even a George Bush II electric boogaloo will have men coming back to the Democratic Party. Hopefully we don't find out. And as I'm editing this right now, a lot of young people, even the podcast bros, seem pretty upset about the Epstein thing, but we know Democrats won't take advantage of the situation in order to protect the Clintons, so maybe not even this will save them, but we'll see, I guess.
True.
Hold on one second.
I noticed that it's been real quiet on the other side, huh? It's been real quiet on both sides. I don't like that. I don't think a single one of us like that. That's very strange shit, man.
Okay. That's better. So that was that video. What do you think of the male loser?
The last thing before she goes to the end. I am concerned that these failed practices of capitalism are allowing the ideas of a socialism to think that that'd be a good idea when it's not. It's not a good idea either, because now small businesses will for sure disappear. And if you don't think that, if you have federally orchestrated companies and businesses, how is the small man supposed to compete against that? Maybe it's a topic for another time. Maybe it's something that we can dive into at another time. My issue is how we've been shitting on what America has typically done in the past 40 years. We're allowing this to happen. We're allowing these alternative avenues to seem appealing. And we can't blame anything but ourselves.
epidemic. Do you agree with Tomi Larhen? Is it all men's fault? Leave your comments below. I read them all. I am probably reading them right now as you type them. Wait, don't write that. No.
Nice.
You can't say that. No, it doesn't matter if it's with an A. If you like this video, please subscribe. And if you can, donate to me on Patreon or leave a little tip with the little tip jar down below. I'll give a little heart. It helps the channel and I appreciate it so much. And I will see you guys again soon with a new video, a new slop video. Because I know you gremlins love that shit. Bye!
All right, so that was Shoe0nhead's male loser epidemic. As to be expected, we saw some lovely, incredible advice by the covert feminists that obviously everyone just absolutely agrees with. Anyway, there are a few points, and for anyone that may have saw something differently, feel free to hit me in the comments section down below, or definitely involving my perspective that I'm about to give now. But a couple of things. Do I think it's wise for women to guilt trip men on the basis of privilege that they currently stand on due to feminism? Probably not a good idea. I think that the most disconnected demographic that we have from current male issues are women. Let me know if you agree. But in the modern society of convenience and the phenomenon of removing fathers from the home, it was conscientiousness that drove men to have duty-driven type lives. Without any emphasis of that environmental context, how likely is it that men are going to choose the uphill when the downhill is what they're tailored for? What I mean by that is technology has led a life of convenience that these kids and these young men are now growing up around. Men that are 18 today in the time of this year were born in 2007. You feel old yet? They've had technology their whole lives, and the accessibility of it, the convenience of it, the immediacy of it. And perhaps that's the reason why you'll see a lot of men derive value from video games, because they use video games as a vehicle of that catharsis to find convenient senses of meaning and value from perhaps what they could achieve in a digital world, because achieving things in the physical environment is just too challenging for the person that they are at the time. In addition to that, there's far less fathers in the home. Not to say that we have amazing men that could be fathers in today's era. Not so much because of all the other factors. But my point is that you have children being tailored on the basis of convenience, especially men. No conscientiousness in the home of environmental context to be able to derive that from. Women can say that they're conscientious. I beg to differ. Science begs to differ. Personality assessments beg to differ. Is this something that you can learn over time? Sure. But it doesn't mean that that's how it works. So when it comes down to how these boys grow up, prioritizing convenience, little to no conscientiousness, no duty-driven perspectives or beliefs, of course, they're going to sit in comfort and safety as it is so inherent. It's typically conscientiousness that drives men towards a path that is against the grain on the basis of envisioning a goal that they would like to become or the thing that they would like to be, and then embracing the struggles or hardships to be able to achieve that. And that's why a lot of people just say, hey, if you got a plan, just go ahead and formulate a plan and pursue it, because it's hard to come up with exactly what you want to be for the next 20 or 30 years. It's a bit of a tough thing to ask of anybody, because that's the question that men typically have to answer, whereas women can often orient themselves as, well, I would love to be a mother. And that's like an incredible thing that you can obviously come around to. And that could be your life's work. But when it comes down to men, being a father isn't necessarily their life's work, because they need to become something to provide for the children that they're going to have in the future. And I think that that's kind of what you're seeing with the whole concept of escapism. It's like, yeah, we're breeding these children to choose convenience. Of course they're coming out this way. Right? Of course they are. And now we're seeing a landscape where women are doing more because they have the culture and environmental context of feminism being fed into their brains as you need to achieve these things. Whereas men, it was more of just a normal societally accepted concept that men should be doing something. But we removed that. And the way we removed that was through technological implications. Feminism put forth the idea that women can do it all and men aren't needed, which naturally made them upset because now they need men to do something. And then it also was in the essence of demasculinizing or feminizing men in general through elements of school systems, having them achieve equivocal behavior of girls as they come up through the school system. And in addition to that, reducing the male authority in the essence of the home. So not only are you being told that you ain't got to do nothing, you don't have to be nothing, but you need to be less dominant, less masculine, and less of these other aspects. So being angry at men now, that's a tough card to play, because if that's how we're looking at it, that's rough. I would say that's rough. What do you want, man? Can I help you? Wait, no. There goes that. All right. You gonna take over? Yeah, it's your turn. Get out of here, loser. And then the other concept that I saw throughout was the can versus should. It seems like we don't have the right narratives around to actually discuss the differences between what you should do and what you can do. Yeah, you can sit at home, and yeah, you can do nothing. You can do drugs. You can waste your life away on whatever convenience that you currently live on. You can do that. And I think that what fosters that kind of perspective is the infantile states that we typically keep children in, where we're more concerned about their self-esteem and not what they should be doing, because should is a tough conversation to those that aren't exposed to it. So when we start talking about what you should be doing, what is your moral obligation, not only to yourself, but to society, that's not a conversation we want to have when we've been brought up on infantile states the whole time, because talking about moral obligation and what you should be doing is going to judge the self-esteem you've currently developed, that you are not doing anything that actually attributes to the person you should be, which is why we often use a negative to motivate people. Well, do you want to be a loser? Do you want to be nothing? And do you want to have nothing? And when you lose your mom, and when you lose whoever's been providing for you for this time, do you want to be out on the streets? Do you want to be homeless? It's like, well, no, and no. Okay, well, now you're being motivated on the basis of a negative. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. And I think that what feels good doesn't mean it is good. I think that morals in the essence of characterological development, or the way that we bring up children, is just so absent nowadays, because traditional families have been completely torn apart. And I think that that's kind of what you're seeing. This is the outcome of all that work in the 60s and 50s to tear apart families and empower women. There's a difference between creating an equal ground for everyone to exist on. For sure. Empowering one side over the other, I don't really agree with that. The concept of empowerment was on the basis of some hidden agenda. And I don't think any of those intentions were all good. I mean, I think that that's obviously easy to see. And at the end of the day, it led us to a situation where we have all this dialogue of, hey, well, men are supposed to be X. But then the second we start discussing what the qualities of women and what they should have, it's like, okay, well, that's totally up to them. It's like, man, what are we doing here? And so we're just like, it's just like this tug of war now, where both sides of this political bullshit aisle are shitting on men. Not everybody, obviously. But we're not helping the situation with these terrible forms of context and environment. If you're trying to foster a young man into something, you need to constantly involve and integrate concepts of what next. You want to stay at home and do nothing. And then what? Just see where that line of thinking goes. Eventually do this. Okay, and then what? And then whenever I'm done with that, obviously I'll get a job, and okay, when are you going to do that? And eventually, the one thing that I've noticed is that when you start gauging people's paths, if they get defensive, it's because they know how much they're not doing. And the one thing that you can constantly tap on the window of someone's negligence is constantly bringing up the concept of what they could be doing or what they should be doing. I know it's hard for parents to intervene in that way, because they just want to be the good mom, the good dad, whatever the case is. But that's not your job. Not your job to be a friend. It's your job to be a parent. And you failed as a parent when they'd rather do nothing than something. One of the common things that I've been saying lately is the greatest procrastinator of the intelligent is to study. When people are constantly saying how they're preparing for a certain kind of move, it's only because they're procrastinating the move itself. Sometimes you just have to initiate whatever plan and accrue wisdom as you implement that plan in its terrible state, regardless of how it starts. You do that, guess what? The lessons learned are going to grant you better steps in a better direction, regardless of where you decide to take that. And I think that that's all it takes sometimes. Knowing what you don't want to be, and starting whatever the hell you got now. You want to talk about solving the male loser epidemic? Hey, there you go. It's really that simple. All this extra narrative bullshit, all this extra judgment, all this condemnation of insults and whatever, shut the fuck up. Shut up. Like, what the hell are you doing? You don't know shit from nothing, especially from the covert feminist side. Like, what you live an unrealistic lifestyle with a perspective that is so disingenuous from the way that you got your opportunities and your privilege. Don't talk to anybody about what it takes to make it anywhere. And I think that that's the disconnected side that people just don't want to hear anymore. It's like, you don't even get it, so why are you talking? It's tough. And it's crazy. It's even more crazy when that's kind of all we're hearing. Anyways, that's all I got to say for now. Thank you to everyone for watching the video. If you liked the video, like it. If you dislike it, dislike it. And leave a comment in the comment section down below for what you thought about the thoughts put forth in reference to this video. Obviously, a little bit long. It's something that's kind of been, we kind of knew this kind of video was coming also a little bit, I would say. But go ahead, and I would love to hear what y'all think. Thanks again, and I'll go ahead and see you next time.